Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Darkworld deck profile, which is one of my favorite decks of all time. Now, I really enjoy this deck because it was actually one of the first deck profiles that I believe, if I remember correctly, that actually reached over 10,000 views on my channel. So doing this, top 30 favorite deck profiles of all time is really amazing because it lets me kind of stroll back down memory lane and see what the channel was and what it is now. And it's really evolved, and I'm really proud that every single one of you are here to witness this. So, without further ado, guys, let's get straight on this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell on this to become a part of the notification squad, and let's get straight on into this. So, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Graf Darkworld Dragon, which is pretty cool. I really like him. He is by far one of the best cards in the entire deck. Basically, you can return a Darkworld. I'm not even going to try and read these because the wording is so screwed up on Darkworlds. You have to play the deck and know what it does in order to play it. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird. So, basically, if it's discarded from your hand by an opponent's card effect, then you get to target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. Then if it was discarded from your hand by your opponent's card effect, or if it's discarded from your hand by your card effect, you get to target a card on your opponent's side of the field and destroy it. Then if it's discarded from your hand by your opponent's card effect, you get to look at a random card in your opponent's hand. And if it was a monster, you can special summon it to your side, of the field. But you can also activate the effect of Graf by returning a Darkworld monster from your field to your hand to be able to special summon it from the graveyard to get a 2700 attack point beat stick on the field. Then I play 1 copy of the Overlord of Darkworld. The reason I play this is because it's actually pretty easy to change the ability of your opponent's card to be able to discard your cards from your hand by their card effect. So this card's basically effect is if it's discarded from your hand, then you get to special summon this card, and if it was discarded from your hand by an opponent's card effect, you either get to destroy all monsters or all spell and trap cards your opponent controls, which is just too good of an effect not to play it as a one-of. Now, I actually went with a pure build of Darkworld instead of a Danger Darkworld because I just like the pure build. I really like the pure build. I know that the Danger build is really good and it's really consistent. I'm not taking that away from it, but I like the pure build, so I played it. So then we played 2 copies of Lucent. If this card is discarded to the graveyard, you get to special summon it from the grave. And if this card is discarded from your hand to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you get to special summon 1 fiend monster from your deck to either side of the field, which is really an awesome effect to be able to special summon something like Graf directly from your deck. Or another copy of Lucent to be able to go into a Link or XYZ play, which we don't play any rank 6s, but to be able to get those extra copies on the field. Then I played double gold. Gold is really good because if it's discarded to the grave, you get to special summon it. And if it's discarded to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you get to target up to 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them, which is really cool. And I really love that effect. It's a really awesome card. Then we play 3 copies of Snow. Snow is cool because if she is discarded to the grave, all of these benefit off of being discarded to the grave. And I just realized all of these are first ed. If this card is discarded to the graveyard, you get to add a Darkworld spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or Darkworld card from your deck to your hand. And if it's discarded to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, then you get to special summon the target in face of defense position if you added a monster. You can target a monster your opponent control or in your opponent's graveyard and special summon that target to your side of the field if it's discarded to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect. These cards are really weird, but that's why I love them so much. Then we play 2 copies of Beige. This is probably the most simple one. If it's discarded to the grave, you just special summon it. This is the main normal summon card. If it's normal summoned, you just return it to the hand and special summon Graf from grave. We play triple Brow. Brow, if it's discarded to the graveyard, you get to draw a card. And if it's discarded to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you get to draw an additional card, which is pretty cool. Basically, if it's just discarded, you get to draw 1 card, which is really cool, and I really love that effect. Then I play 1 copy of Guru of Darkworld. If he's discarded to the grave by a card effect, you get to special summon him to your opponent's side of the field in face of defense. And when it's special summoned by a card effect of a Darkworld card, your opponent must discard 1 card. So by saying your opponent must discard 1 card, it means you have to discard 1 card. So that's why it's such a good card to give your opponent. And if you have some of these Darkworlds, that's why I was reading all their other effects, is because they trigger off of him, which is really cool, and I really love that. So that's just something cool. And I want to say you only get to draw one off of Brow if he's discarded, so he just replaces himself, which is pretty cool with Drag Down by the Grave or your copies of Gates. It basically gives you additional draws, or your Darkworld dealings to give you additional draws. Then we play a Tour Guide to special summon out our Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Fiendish Rhino Warrior is pretty much here just to protect your monsters and to be able to use as a overlay material for something like Dante or something like that to mill your cards to the graveyard so you can get Graphs Engrave. So that's it for the monsters. Let's get into the spells. Those monsters are a mouthful, I tell you. And this deck is fun. Like, I really highly recommend. They just actually re-released this deck. And I haven't checked out if they actually fixed the wording. I don't know if they fixed the wording or not, but I really wonder if they did. I have to look it up. So then we play triple Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness, you discard a card, you draw 2 and then banish a dark monster from your hand. You guys know what it does. 3 copies of Darkworld Dealings. You draw a card, each player draws, and then discards a card, which benefits you because you discard your Darkworlds and then they trigger additional effects. 3 copies of Gates, because Gates is good. Gates is all Fiend monsters gain 300 attack, and then once per turn you can banish a Fiend from your grave, and then discard a Fiend, and then draw a card. So you banish, discard, and then draw, which is really good to be able to discard like a Graph or something like that to be able to do additional things. 1 copy of Foolish to send stuff like Graph to Grave to get it back on the field. 1 copy of Card Destruction because this card is absolutely nuts in Darkworlds because they all trigger off of it. And then 3 copies of Drag Down by the Grave. You get to look at your opponent's hand and be able to just rip stuff right out of their hand with this card, which is just really, really, really good. And I highly recommend 3 Drag Downs because you get to look at your opponent's hand and then rip a card out of it, and your opponent gets to discard 1, and all of yours are going to trigger, and you can control what you have. So that's it for the spells. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, I am going to be playing a couple of traps. Some of them are optional, some of them are not, in my opinion. If you don't want to play these, you could play the Dangers if you want to. I'm not a fan of that. You could drop Fiendish Rhino Warrior and Tour Guide and then these and play Dangers if you wanted to. But I just, I don't like it. So 2 Trap Trick, because Trap Trick is good and it's searching a card that's going to make this card nuts, or this deck nuts, which you guys are if you've seen me play a dark deck, you know what's coming. 2 Darkworld Brainwashing. Darkworld Brainwashing is a stupid good card. When your opponent monster activates its effect, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, you can target a Darkworld monster on the field and return it to your hand, and if you do, the activated effect becomes discard a random card from your opponent's hand, which is cool because it triggers all of your Darkworld's effects, their secondary effects too, which lets them do really, really nuts effects. Then we play 3 copies of Eradicator Epidemic Virus, which plays along with our Trap Trick very, very nicely. Because the majority of the stuff in the deck, with Gates on the field, which you're going to usually get Gates quickly, your Graph is a target to tribute. Your copies of, like, your Golds are a target once they get the boost, and Lucent and even your Overlord is a target to tribute once you get Gates on the field for your Eradicator. So Eradicator is pretty much always live and extremely devastating to your opponent. If you're playing against something like Sky Strikers and you flip one of these Eradicators, it's game over. Like, it is over. If you can put out 8,000 damage in 3 turns, which is not hard in this deck, you've won. If you flip this, like, you might as well scoop. Like, you flip this and it's game. Like, this card should not be at 3. This card is so good, and I'm going to be playing it in so many decks. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra decks. The extra deck is one of those things that's a little bit versatile on what you want to play. So I play a Boral Sword because Boral Sword is good. 1 copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because it's really easy to trigger with your Graphs in this deck because you just link it away with a Graph and like 2 other Dark Worlds, to be able to get, into something else. And it has all those additional effects. That it gains 1,500 attack. If it destroys opponent's monster in battle, it gains 1,500 attack. You can banish a card, or it can make a second attack during the next battle phase, which is just really good. Unicorn bounces stuff, Phoenix pops spells and traps, and Cerberus pops monsters, so we play the Nightmare package as normal. Witch, because Witch boosts all of our Dark Worlds up by 500. Like, you can make this and make stuff like, you know, even gold, like, huge. Like, you can even make snow 2500 with gates and this on the field. It goes up to 25 on normal summon, which is just dumb big. Like, it's just big for no reason. One copy of Cherubini, because Cherubini is really good to send level 3s from our deck to the grave. It just requires 2 level 3 monsters, which can be made really easily with stuff like your tour guide and, you know, Fiendish Rider Warrior, and then you get to mill, and then you get to mill again with this to send something like just a deck thin, like something like your copy of, oh my goodness, what's his name? Brow. You can send Brow to grave with this. One copy of number 22 Zombie Stein. It just requires 2 dark XYZ, or 2 dark level 8 monsters, which is extremely easy with Graph. One copy of number 23 Lancelot, Dark Knight of the Underworld. Really good card to be able to inflict damage to your opponent. Divine Dragon Knight Felgrand, another really awesome card for this deck. The best card in the extra deck is Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy. I wanted to test number 60 in this deck because it's such a good card to be able to just skip your draw phase. Next turn, draw 2 and then discard a card because it triggers your Dark Worlds and digs deeper into the deck. I really, really, really like this card in this deck, and it's really good. And also skip your next battle phase of your next turn, and also double the attack of a monster you control until the end phase. So if you can make this and Graph, you can get Graph up to 6k and swing one time with it. And it's like, okay, that's it. And then swing with this, and it's like almost an OTK right there. Levier, because Levier is good. Phantom Knights, Breaksword, and then Dante as well, because Dante mills 3. So that's all for this deck profile. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed this one for you guys because this is like one of the first decks that really took the channel like off the ground, because I did this video like 4 years ago almost of Dark Worlds, and it's just such a cool thing to be able to continue to play this deck and see how that video like skyrocketed the channel off the ground. And that's why I'm really glad that I'm able to do this favorite 30 deck profiles for my 10,000th subscriber. Like, that's just crazy to me that we made it that far. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. I'm really, really proud that we made it to that milestone, and I hope to make 10,000 more with you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.